so much, Parul. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you had a great lunch and a great dessert. I'm also feeling a little sleepy after the lunch. But before we begin, let's pause for a second. Close your eyes and picture this. So imagine you're sitting in a hospital waiting room, anxiously anticipating your test results. Everything feels calm. Then suddenly, the light flickers. The life support system shut down. The MRI machine falls silent. The monitor goes off. And just like that, silence takes over. A moment later, an urgent code blue announcement echoes through air. Confusion spread, panic erupts. Hospital staff scramble to evacuate critical patients. Outside, ambulance sirens scream into a chaos. What's happening? A catastrophe. Not caused by a natural disaster, but by a human-driven cyber attack. It might sound like a plot of a thriller, right? But this isn't a fiction. In 2023, something similar actually happened when Black Basta ransomware group launched a targeted attack on medical centers in the United States, shutting down healthcare services, delaying life-saving surgeries, and putting countless lives at risk. Human-operated ransomware attacks are moved beyond just a data theft. They are now disrupting essential services and endangering our lives. So do you know, each year, these ransomware groups targets hundreds of critical infrastructure, demanding millions of dollars in ransom. Hospitals, telecom networks, transportation system, no sector is safe. So how do we fight against such an advanced enemy? By understanding them first. So in this session, we'll deep dive into an inner working of Black Basta, one of the most dangerous ransomware gang operating today. Using a recent chat leak, we'll break down their operations and uncover who they are, how they strike, and most importantly, what we as a defender can learn from them. So how many of you know or heard a term of human-operated attacks or human-operated ransomware attack? Please raise your hand. I just wanted you to wake up, right? Yeah, amazing. So those who didn't, over the past few years, we have seen a major shift in cyber threat landscape. Attacks are not just an opportunistic. They are not limited to a single device or an individual domain. Instead, they have evolved, become more adaptive, more targeted, and aim at taking down an entire organization. These attacks aren't an automated script running in the background. They are carefully planned and executed by human adversaries, of course, with the intent of causing a maximum damage. Take an example of Colonial Pipeline attack in 2021. Just one breach was enough to shut down a major fuel supply chain in United States, causing a nationwide fuel shortage and widespread panic. So these human-operated ransomware groups, it doesn't work in silos anymore. They evolve into a structured, well-organized operation and functions more like a business. Most of these groups are divided into three major departments, each with a specific role in attack chain. The first department focuses on initial access, and that's why they called as initial access brokers. They are the specialists. They target you guys. They target us, the one who know how to get in. They exploit a weak points in the system or use social engineering to trick victim. Whatever it takes to get an initial access or initial foothold into a target organization. Once the initial access is gained, the second team comes in. This is called a hands-on team, or we call this as a ransomware affiliates. So this group includes a penetration testers, a red teamers, more like us. So once the access is gained, they take the access, they move laterally over the compromised network and hunt for critical assets like domain controllers, backup systems, virtualization, and cloud infrastructures. And even before launching a ransomware attack, they quietly exfiltrate valuable data, putting an organization into a risk of both encryption as well as exfiltration. And finally, the third team steps in. This team is called ransomware operator. They handle ransomware itself, developing encryption tool, managing decryption keys, negotiating with victims. All of this is a part of this team. They also run a data leak sites, publicly exposing stolen information if payments aren't made. A Black Basta, ransomware's uncle, is one of the human-operated ransomware group follow this exact model. So many of you know that ransomware is Black Basta is not new ransomware, right? It has been active since April 2022 and operating as a ransomware as a service and using a brutal double extortion strategy. So there is a strong speculation that this Black Basta group was formed by a former member of Conti and Revil gang, two of the most infamous ransomware gang in the recent history. In their early days, Black Basta was relying excess purchased from Quackbot infrastructure, a widespread botnet service which many threat actors were using, and it's very successful. But suddenly, when the Quackbot infrastructure was taken down by law enforcement, all the excess of Black Basta suddenly goes. But Black Basta didn't disappear. They adapt. They built their own in-house initial access team, a group we tracked as Storm 1811. Wondering their favorite targets, critical infrastructure, manufacturing industries, financial services, any high-value sectors where downtime is very expensive and pressure to pay is very high. So as per many public reports, Black Basta targeted around 500 plus organizations worldwide and estimated around extorted $107 million in ransomware. I think this is bigger than some countries' GDP also. So what is the secret sauce of Black Basta? Like why it is so successful? Why it able to penetrate a security systems of 500 organizations? Their initial access. And initial access are backbone of any cyber operations. So when it started, it was taking initial access service from Quackbot. But when the Quackbot was taken down, Black Basta introduced a new department in their ecosystem, invest heavily into initial access. Storm 1811 spent a year building a new method for initial access. And their first campaign showed in April 2024. They are unlike anything we have seen. They tend to go after higher management or an elderly employee, individuals who are more susceptible to unintended calls and unexpected emails, right? They were using a very mixed kind of phishing, email flooding, a tech support scam, and often pretending to be a IT support guy handling a cyber incidents. So now hackers are using their own tactics, and we'll just break through down the first campaign of the Black Basta ransomware. Sorry. So it surged with the benign emails, sometimes in thousands of them, mostly newsletters, all benign, sent in bulk to a targeted individual. So they carefully select these individuals from companies, you will see in the later subsequent talk, and then they target them. So as you've seen in the screenshot, there is a clear spike in the email traffic, which shows the email flooding. Once they flood the network, it's time for a next phase called voice phishing. Now, this is relatively a new term, voice phishing. So victim received a call or maybe a Teams message from someone pretending to be IT support, and that is an attacker. They first build the trust, of course, getting victim to believe that they are there to help, right? Once the attacker gained trust, they convince the victim to install a quick assist, a remote management tool used in many organizations commonly. Actually, I also use remote management, like quick assist only, whenever Microsoft support call me. So when the victim grant an access, that's when the attacker take control. Now, the attacker has in control, it starts its intrusion. The attacker installs a batch file, generally named update.bat. This bat file has nothing in malicious. It just goes download an SSH bundle. Once extracted, the SSH bundle creates a new SSH key pair and established a connection with the attacker command and control. Very benign. So whatever you are seeing in yellow, all benign activity. We can't go and detect. Defender cannot detect an SSH because it can produce a lot of false positives. So the attacker doesn't stop there. The script renames the SSH file as a run broker, copy into a Windows directory, and create a scheduled task to run them at a regular interval, ensuring they can maintain the access. It also had a run registry key for persistence, allowing them re-enter whenever victims tries to clean up. Once the persistence is established, the attacker checks if the victim is using administrator account or not. And if the victim has the attacker has an elevated privilege, sorry, did something happen? Okay, anyways, if the attacker has an elevated privilege, it goes ahead and install an additional RMM tool such as Screen Connect, ConnectWise Screen Connect, and then run it with the administrative privilege. This gives attacker full control and reduce their dependency on quick assist. Then, I don't know why it is, now it is going, right? Sorry, yeah. So the script then prompts the victim to enter the credentials, not once but twice, because the attackers wanted to, ensure that the correct credentials is added. So once the credentials is added, it immediately exfiltrated straight to the attacker's command and control server. Now in other campaigns, we see that Black Basta is also deploying net support RMM tool, PikaBot, and Cobalt Strike along with the Screen Connect, expanding their toolkit for wider access and further exploitation. The second campaign was observed more recently in February 2025. It follows a same old pattern with starting with the email flooding, then tech support scam, and then usual remote assist management tool to compromise the victim. But there's a new twist. Instead of using a usual SSH bundle or remote management tool, attacker introduced a new bot called Redbid. Now they're all Redbid components. I'll talk in next session. So Redbid shares many similarity with QBot. It is a speculation that it either been created by a QBot developer or created using a QBot source code. Now in this campaign, a 2 BPX file, normally BPX file is used for an update, are downloaded on the victim system. The file combines an archive file which contains several components. Now these are the components. So the first component is a legitimate OneDrive standalone.updater.exe. It's a component of OneDrive. The second component is a loader, typically named winhttp.dll. We suspect it's a PikaBot. Then supporting crypto libraries. And then there is a bat file setting backup.dat, a RC4 encrypted bat file, typically all the botnet code present in that bat file. So what happened? The legitimate OneDrive updater.exe is used for DLL side loading, which loads the loader. The loader contains the RC4 decryption routine. Go ahead and decrypts the setting backup.dat bat file. So once the file is decrypted, malware creates a run registry key with a hard-coded name Titan Plus. Now why this is important? Because this registry key stores a C2 addresses of a botnet into the key. Now whenever they wanted to connect to a C2, they goes to that registry, refer as a configuration file, and then connecting to the C2 servers. So once the connection is established, and if the connection is successful, the script set up a scheduled task, running the entire side loading process at a regular interval. Now this ensures two things. First, it maintains a persistence on the infected system, obviously. Second, whenever a new set of IP addresses coming from C2s, it goes ahead and modify the older configuration registry key and loads and connect to a new C2s whenever it is required. So with a Redbid, Black Basta continues to evolve its tactics, adopt, improving, staying one step ahead of Defender. So once the attacker gain an initial access, initial foothold into a system, the technique we have seen just now, they typically hand over the intrusion to ransomware affiliates. The specific progression of attack can vary depending on the organization setup and security posture, but the common kill chain has been emerged across many incidents. So let's break it through. So after gaining an initial access, the attackers first target the saved browser credentials and session tokens. I'm sorry, there is something is not right with the, okay. Okay, so generally they use penetration tools like Sharp Chromium and Lazange, along with the infamous Mimikatz tool for credential dumping. Okay, with the initial credential in hand, they begin their reconnaissance activity. They perform domain enumeration to map out the network and understand the environment. From there, they move forward for domain compromise. Now in this stage, they use techniques like Kerber roasting, ASRAP roasting, and mostly use tools like Rufus and Mimikatz and unpacking also. In more advanced stages, we have seen that attacker use zero logon or print nightmare exploit and even use DC sync attacks to dump the password hashes from domain controller directly, often using a tool called unpacking or donpappy. Once they compromise the high-value accounts, they enumerate to SMB share and move laterally across a network. With control over a network, they move on sensitive data, such as email, documents, and then typically exfiltrate this data with legitimate tools like RC clone or AZ copy, often renaming them like a system file, SVC host, or task send, like in this screenshot we have seen. One of the most notable findings in this campaign was exploitation of unique ESXi vulnerability. By simply creating a ESXi admin group into a domain and adding your compromised account into that group, the attacker were able to escalate privileges and gain full administrative control over ESXi virtualization hypervisors. Now, they ensure that all the antivirus solutions or all the EDR solutions is blocked, is tampered, and then once everything is placed, they go and launch the ransomware, typically from the domain controller and on the ESXi server to maximize impact to the entire organization. And this is how attacker turn a small initial foothold into a full-scale attack, causing a maximum damage. So we have seen how Black Basta operates in very short, because it's very, very huge, and they gave me only 15 minutes. Okay? So now let's go behind the scenes, and to explore the leak communication chat, I'll hand over to my colleague Sudhir. So he'll take you through that journey.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Hello, everyone. So let's see how many are you excited to look into the internal chat leak of the Black Basta. So yeah, on February 11, 2025, some massive data leak happened on Exploit Whisper Telegram channel. So it containing the 148 MB archive. So that archive is having around 50 plus active chat rooms are there, and like aliases are there, so which are discussing among them, and around like 195,000 messages are which are in Russian language we have seen into that archive. So when like we look for the further like when we look for that like chat leaks, then we have identified like that duration is from September 2023 to September 2024. So that means it's covering the almost 1 year. And what's inside that chat leak? So it's almost like having from their initial access to until the negotiations of the ransomware. So that's everything is happened into that one chat leaks. And even they are discussing about some tools, how they develop, and how some security vendors are detecting it, and how they are overcoming with some extra layers over there, like by evading the detections for that particular tools. So yeah, but first of all, like while speaking about that 48 MB JSON file, so it looks like a JSON because it's having the key pair value, and the main keys are the timestamp, message, and threat ID, and the like a sender's alias. So these 4 values are there important. But when we looked into that one to embedding that JSON file into the React.js for Matrix chat app, so that like we can have the different rooms separately and different messages separately, and to look into that one. So we identified like its syntax and some structures are not correct. So our first task is like we have cleared its syntax and its structure. Then we identified these are the messages into Russian language, and we need to translate them into the English, so that we can go through the messages and conversation and understand what they are discussing about the things. So we use the Google Translate to do the translations, and while doing that one also, like we faced some small blocker, like a Google Translate is having some limitations over the few characters only can be translated at once. So we did some multi-threaded programming with the Python, and we did translated that one. So you can see that 2 screenshots are there. So first one, like these are the simple screenshots from the text editor. So first one is a raw JSON file which is leaked, and the second one is like we have added like some beautifications, did some syntax and the structure corrections. So let's see. Now we have the all beautified the file there. So where to focus, because it's having the 195,000 messages. That's the intensive data, and if we want to go through each and every message, it will be like a tedious job. So we use the Panda libraries and some notebooks like a Jupyter notebooks, and we have some stats about the sender aliases. We focused onto the sender aliases, like which sender alias is important and who is discussing with whom, whose contribution is more into this chat group. So you can see that bubble graph, it shows the GG at the center. So that GG is the alias. That means all the names you can see here, they are the aliases into this threat actor group, and GG is at the center, and his size is like that bubble is bigger bubble. That means he is contributing more than the other members. Even everybody is connected to the GG. That means like everybody is connecting and asking, or like a discussion happening between them. So then we went behind the GG's messages, and we identified he is the main boss of the threat group. So because all the other members, they are communicating with him, asking some permissions, taking some suggestions, and even the GG is suggesting them something, or what's happening, like what target need to be prioritized, and how payload should be the dropped, or the like a next action course of action. That's all, everything goes through the GG. And like after the GG, we see some bigger pictures like Lapa, Tinker, Ugwe, YY. So you can see the like a Tinker, he is something interesting figure, because he is dealing with the negotiation part. Once after the impact is happened, so negotiation, they are negotiating with the victims, that handled by the Tinker. And Lapa is there. So Lapa is for the responsible for the malware delivery. So once initial access has happened, so how the payload should be delivered to the organizations, that's like handled by the Lapa. So YY, who is also looking for the some infrastructure inside, like if they need some servers or some hardwares into their internal lab setup, so that's everything handled by the YY. So these are some top figures we have identified, and then this given us the way to dig into the chat. Like we have focused on these aliases only and dig further, and we have found some more information. Like here is, you can see the Black Basta's target. So first of all, any operation, we need the target, and they are identifying their targets and shortlisting them on the basis of some parameters. So we have identified these, and you can see the first is a business sector, then their service type, estimated revenues. So like speaking about the service type, they are targeting the real estate, manufacturing, healthcare, and education. These are some sectors they are targeting mostly. And also you can see the access methods. This is also important. While they have some criteria over the selecting the organizations or the targets, but they want to have some insight, like starting with some initial access. So they are harvesting the credential, like which are publicly exposed into that particular organization, such as RDP, SSH, and the VPNs as well. So I want to speak more about the VPN, because we have seen there are the multiple instances they are sharing the VPN URLs with the another threat actors for the further coordination of the attack. You can see I have added the one screenshot also here. It's also, you can see that's the showing the scrolling bar, because I just want to show that like how they are for the in any specific attack, how the URLs they are grabbing and sharing with the another team members. So yeah, and next thing is like also we have noticed they are discussing about the VPNs thing. They are not just relying on to the VPN for the only entry point. They are also relying once like initial access has happened, exploitation is successful. They want to have continuous connection with the victims, and that also should be stayed hidden. So that's why also they are using the VPN in full attack chain. And furthermore, like we have seen the exploitation frameworks also, they have targeting publicly exposed services, and they are having some vulnerables like about the XIM mail servers, then EXI hypervisors, and Jenkins instances as well. So we have seen that few of the discussion happening around into the chat group, like they want to see about the EXI hypervisors instances they found and how they can utilize further. They are sharing with the among other team members. So yeah, so once like we know about how they are harvesting and how they are shortlisting their target, so let's speak about the initial access and harvesting. So there are the like a vast chat actually there, but we have the find out the some crux there, and which are the something like a special things and special cases we are like discussing here. So for the initial targets, like once they have identified the some organization, they need to identify the some employees on their contacts, like they need some initial access into that organization. So we have observed there are the lots of Zoom info usage and the LinkedIn usages are shown and discussed, and the one of the threat actor member who is only like working for this, his responsibility is just only for the finding out the contact details from the particular organizations. So they are using the Zoom info and LinkedIn, and they are storing that once collected the data, they are storing that data and organizing into the Google Sheet, so that like another members they can grab it from here and coordinate the further attack. So even you can see there are some links, Zoom info, because of the some passwords and credentials PII data. So we have scrubbed that one, and also the in second screenshot you can see the some Google Sheet links as well there. So that links, few of the links are still alive. If we open it, it shows the all harvested their data like employees details and their contacts. Yeah, and next speaking about the strategy, phishing strategy. Maybe it's going to a okay, but yeah, I will speak. Okay, it's having the kind of two methods are there which are interested things about the phishing. So first one is like they are targeting the corporate mail servers by using the web shell, and that giving them the full control to over the mail servers, so that happens like makes them their job easy to get the initial access. And second one is like a file trust file delivery. That is something like they are doing. As already we have seen in technical details, they are flooding with the phishing emails, and from their attack is starting. But what happened, like the one of the member from their threat actor, he is discussing about like that strategy. He is explaining to the another member that just send the 10 letters to the one customer and wait for his response. So once the victim responds back, then only throw the payload, so that it ensures it's a possibility and high chances of the executing that malware into victim's machine. So that's something strategies into during the phishing we have seen. And next is the credential harvesting. So for the credential harvesting, they are using the VBS stealer and the JS stealer. So you can see the VBS stealer at the down, we have some detections. So they are discussing about some security vendors are detecting for this our VBS stealers, and they are sharing that details, and they are overcoming with that. Like they had some plan B or the alternate options also. Then they move to the JS stealers. Yep, and let me talk about the arsenals or the tooling about the Black Basta. So Black Basta is not having kind of random bunch of tools into their arsenals. So they have some carefully selected few tools are there, but they are the trustworthy and working as an kind of no failure there. So first one is the EDR killer. So EDR killer, it looks like a custom build tool as per their discussions happening into the one of the room. It's a custom build tool, and it's like every time they are discussing it when the initial access is starting. So right after the initial access, they are deploying this EDR killer. Its job is to just disable the endpoint defense system, so that like further payload they can land cleanly. And we tried to find out some binary names and hashes into the chat, but we didn't found anything about that the EDR killer. Just the EDR killer name they are discussing. about that tool. And also we have identified like a there are some points they are discussing, some which AV vendor is not supported by this, and what the updates we need. So everything they are discussing about that EDR killer. So next is a Picabot. Yeah, next is the Picabot. In Picabots, even in our initial slide, my colleague Vaibhav shared the things about that Qbot, and after the Qbot, they evolved to the Picabot. So this is the Picabot. It's also their in-house built developed tool, and it is also like comes after the initial access. And one of the message from the GG, we can see they have GG is a boss of the group. He shared that like we need to first install the Picabot, then everything all like other proxies or another some exploitation framework tools will go through this Picabot. So that's also giving us the trust, like how they are relying onto that Picabot. And also they are discussing about it's a discussion detections, and some of the security researchers has done some research on the Picabot, and they are sharing some blog post. So they are also looking into that blog post and changing their wrappers and the codes frequently, so that they can stay ahead about the like detections. Also, like they are utilizing some common post-exploitation frameworks as well, like a Cobalt Strike proxy, then the meta exploit, then the brute rattle, and finally they are using the Rubius with the mimikatz to targeting the Kerberos tickets to further like further movements like lateral movements and reconning inside the organization. So let's speak about the infrastructure now. So in many times, like we have seen, they are having the discussion about the COBA, and there are lots of messages they are sharing some automated pipelines of the deployment of the COBA. So then we check like what is this COBA? COBA is nothing but the custom version of the Cobalt Strike. They have added some wrappers and did some changes, updated that one, and they're deploying the COBA proxy for the like staying hidden and for their further communications. Also, we have identified they are using the chaining access target, like whatever their victims are there, targeted victims are there, and from their victim, they are like a chain, like a routing their beacons from their victims infrastructure. That means it's becoming some chain, and it makes the IP-based detection harder. Like we cannot backtrace to the original source of traffic. And sometimes, like we have seen, they are utilizing the same chaining using the SOC infra as well. So overall, speaking about the infrastructure about the Black Basta, we have seen some of the segmentations, like some of the topics, areas, they are keeping the like a segmentation. In segmentation, that means like they are keeping their proxy separate and the tool separate. So it will make harder to connect the dots. Then the chaining, as we already discussed. Then persistence, like if even the part of network is shut down, then but their proxy nodes are alive. So that's also keeping the connection alive. Then the tool awareness, GPT usage, already we know that nowadays everybody is using the AI and GPT. Here like malwares as well using the warm GPT and chat GPT for the forming the phishing letters to the even the some communication happening into the ransomware negotiation. Everything is happening through the GPT as well there. Okay, now this is something like we have discussed, and I know this is just a kind of story and details about the technicals. Now let me walk you through the one real world example, and that's also connecting back to our introduction given by my colleague Vaibhav. So what happened, like one healthcare organization was attacked, and attack path was like attack scenarios is a standard one. Phishing let them credentials stolen, then the VPN got them inside, and come the Cobalt Strike for the internal recon and the lateral movements. So within a days, all files are encrypted. Patients' records, their imaging, their scheduling, everything is encrypted. But then after some time, like after a few days, like we have observed into the conversation. This is from our conversation. So one of the attack member dropped the decryptor. No ransom, just a key, just a decryption key. Then we identified, and we just seen at the first, like it looks like a rare act of mercy, and then we did detail down into their conversation and that chat room. Then we found that this is not about the ethics; it's about the optics. So then that member who shared the decryptor, he is arguing with the another members, like attacking healthcare draw the too much attention and hits over their group. So then they then like he's explaining that sometimes we need to stay back because we don't want to have the some law and enforcement escalation happen, and what is the happening like into their investigation should not happen into the us. So that's why he given that one. But the some of them are like pushing further, like no, we need to ransom because we have done the some attack is succeeded, we have encrypted the files. So likewise, like a conflict started into their like internal chat discussions, and the one of the member then like a defending, he's saying we are not a killer, we are a pen tester. And this internal all like leaks and the disruptions into the leadership dispute and the trust issues, blaming, that all leads to the Black Basta to the disruption and the end. But wait, is it the really end? No, not exactly, because they are back with the new appellation with the Cactus ransomware. Different name, same threat, but more dangerous. And just a last thing, like last note, what we have seen through this chat leak. So this chat leak is shown us like a not just the malwares, but the methods. It's not just about the speaking about the encryption, but it's about their infrastructures. And what we have seen, these are not threat actors, these are the personalities, disagreements, and disputes. So, and Black Basta is just one name in long and growing list of adversaries, and which like who think differently, act quickly, and exploit the every weakness that we overlook. So, just stop thinking that the defenders are trapped into the silos. So, because start thinking like an adversaries, because when defender sees the system, the attacker sees the opportunity. Yep, thank you, that's it.